Hello there. My name is James, and I have gathered a couple of my fellow college students to show you our collections. I gathered a list of questions to ask them and myself about our collections and why they are so important to us.
Books have always been important to me. Stories that infect us and entrance us and put us in a place beyond our reality is such an intoxicating thing. It's an important collection for me because it helps me not only escape the bad parts of my life, but appreciate the good even more through the eyes of other characters, situations, and fantastical events. They also help me see different perspectives, helps me learn, and help me feel more connected to the world as well as feel a part of it when I need it.
Hey, my name is Zaki Coleman, and I started collecting Funko Pop due to myself just enjoying the way certain characters looked as Funko Pop. When I started watching Game of Thrones and I seen that so many of their Funko Pop resale prices were a lot of money, I wanted to collect some for myself. I always liked the idea of having something rare and valuable to my name, and I felt that it would add to the aesthetic of my room.
I started collecting my magazines when I was about 10 years old. This is not all my magazines. Unfortunately, I couldn't get all my magazines because they are all stored away. Yeah, I've been collecting for a long time now.
My parents divorced when I was young, so every Friday my mom would go take me to go see my dad, and every Friday night me and my dad would watch movies together. And I think that's what really started my passion for film. I started collecting around 2014, 2015, and what I also like to do is I like to buy the book and keep the ticket stub, and so I have kind of a collection and some editions to come with it.
Back in elementary school, there was a famous game all the kids played called Pop Tropica, and on one of the islands that everybody played was a mythology-based island where you get to solve the Greek gods' problems. Also around this time was a famous movie called Percy Jackson, and with Percy Jackson it sprung up a bunch of other mythology-based movies like Clash of the Titans and Gods of Egypt.
I started collecting because back in 2013, my dad and I went to Minecon, which they gave all the attendees these 4 pins here, which really started the whole collection.
Hi, my name is River, and I really enjoy collecting plushies. I started collecting plushies because I really wanted to fill my room with color and joy and heal my inner child in some sort of way.
My first part of my collection, it's really hard to say which one's the first one because I feel like the first one hasn't been in the picture for a while, because when you're a book collector, your tastes change, your interests change, what you like changes over the years. I've been collecting since I was like 12, and I started with comic books. So it's been years. So the first one's probably not around anymore. But I think the first one, if we're talking novels, probably would have been Divergent for Veronica Roth. If we're talking comic books, like graphic novels and such, I think it was like Marvel comics or graphic novels or something. But I don't have them with me to show.
First one in my collection was from my baby sister, Taylor, who gave me a baby Yoda Funko Pop for my birthday because she knew I like Star Wars.
Either Teen Beat or Bop magazine. I don't believe they're around anymore, but they were around when I was in my youngin' days, when I was a young boy and a teenager. So, with that said,
The first one in my Blu-ray collection was actually the Stranger Things box set. Originally, this was the DVD and Blu-ray combo. I upgraded, but originally when I got it, I didn't know what Blu-ray was, and so I bought a Blu-ray player, and I realized how much better overall quality it is. And so I updated my entire collection.
When I first started my collection, it was back in middle school with the first book I ever bought at Barnes & Noble called Norse Mythology, which was a book about the Norse gods and their story all the way up to Ragnarok, where everything resets.
Obviously, those 4 would have started the collection, but first one that I got that's up here on this board is this one here. I don't remember what that one's from. Some Pokemon trading card game thing.
The first plushie to be a part of my collection is this fox. I got it from a friend of mine years ago, and ever since then I took a good look at it and was like, I really want to collect these.
I don't have a lot of rare items. I do have like some hardback Anne Rice that I found at a thrift shop, which is hard to find.
I don't have too many super rare Funko Pops that are high up in the market for resale, but I do have a few limited editions, such as my Syraxis from House of Dragons, Spider-Man, Lucas from Stranger Things, my holographic Mandalorian, my limited edition Godzilla.
That's probably going to be either a Bop or a Team B, Tiger Beat, a bunch of those that I do have in my collection.
The rarest items in this collection are the Gravity Falls Complete Series Collector's Edition. They actually decommissioned it, so it's not being distributed anymore, and so, which is kind of sad, but I was lucky enough to get it before that happened. The other rarest item in my collection is this World's End Steelbook box, collector's box.
The Journey to the West books are my rarest possession, which was the most expensive book out of all of them, being a 4-part series and costing me over like $100 to $200 just to get, because it is the oldest text that I own when it comes down to the year when these were created and written, with Journey to the West being from the 16th centuries and translated early on from the late 1900s.
The rarest pin that I have in my collection is probably this one with the chain, which was only available for 3 days, or this little blue shield, which only around 7,000 people have.
My favorite plushie in this collection is this bunny one right here. It has a bell inside, and I got it as a gift from my mom, and it means a lot, and it just holds a lot of value.
Beautiful Creatures by Tammy Garcia and Margaret Stahl. Fantastic story. This was my Twilight as a teenager because I didn't get into Twilight until a lot later. Socializing and friends and things in my life were not a very positive or common thing. I was very much the kind of like outsider person. And I felt very lonely. I felt very hard. Had a very hard time emotionally and such. And I picked up this book. I started reading this after the movie came out. It engulfed me. And it made me feel like it was okay being an outsider. It was okay being different and, you know, not having to deal with all the crowds and social etiquettes. It's okay to be that kind of person. And, in a way, saved my life.
The Funko Pop that means the most to me is my Baby Yoda, because it caught me the surprise to see that my little sister got me a Baby Yoda for my birthday. It just means a lot to me because I think of her smile every time I look at it, and just imagining her handing it to me and smiling, that just made the Baby Yoda priceless. And I would never sell it to me, because to me that's the best one to me.
The reason why it does mean the most to me as far as People magazine is because one of my dreams is to become an editor, a features editor, any type of that, job in People magazine. It would be amazing.
The Twin Peaks collection by David Lynch and Mark Frost. I think, even though I knew my love of movies came from my dad, I think this series in particular made me want to actually pursue filmmaking, wanted to create stories. It's one of my favorite shows. It's one of my favorite things ever. I love the characters. I love the wacky, mysterious, and haunting world.
My favorite and prized possession of all of the mythology books that I have gotten is Journey to the West. Sun Wukong is my favorite heroic king, even though he isn't really much a hero than he is mischief monkey, kind of like how Loki is with his misdeeds to the point of killing one of his own brothers.
The pin that means the most to me is probably this one here, for obvious reasons. Also, it's one of the only 3D pins that I actually have, and it's very cool. It means a lot to me.
The squishy that means the most to me is this box one again, my first one, because my friend gave it to me and we were very close.
Books have been rising lately. A lot of people keep saying, oh, these hardcovers aren't going to be around forever. They're going to be all digitalized. And e-readers are on the high. And everyone's like, oh, this is the future of reading. No more, lugging the books around, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, we'll see. And now, the lowest amount of format that's sold for books that you will find today are ebooks. I think the future is still going to be hardcovers, paper, artwork. People love these physical editions. People love having them in their hands and and having that physical feel. So I feel like the future of books is going to be the same, that they're going to be always the same. They're never going to stop being these pages of wonder and magic and everything, because when you're having it in your hands, it transports you, versus on a screen, it doesn't do that as easily, and a lot of people resonate with that. So you'll find that I feel like in the future, people are still going to have books around, not some computer screen.
Due to my small collection of Funko Pops, I recently stopped buying them due to the fact that I don't really want them anymore. And I just feel I could put my money into better things that I enjoy, such as comic books, video games. But I don't consider myself as a collector anyway. I do see Funko Pops as being a big collector items in the future, as I think later generations will see that it was a big cultural thing in Generation Z, that everybody collected them. And it'd just be a piece of value to see what our generation, collector items our generation had.
Magazines have all been like going through that transition already, with the fact of the internet and technology. So print started dying down a lot, and then they had to bring magazines more digital, publications more digital. So it's already been like going through that transition, but now you have like example, like People magazine has the magazine in physical form, but it also has the digital side as well. But I don't see physical magazines going anywhere. If I'm wrong, there'll still be digital online magazines.
It's obvious that movies are definitely going to be staying around for a long time, whereas the physical media of it is definitely going to be going away sometime in the near future. One of the best aspects of physical media is being an archive. With the original Star Wars trilogy having so much alters to it now, the only way to actually watch the original Star Wars is to watch original VHS version of the original trilogy. This is the only way to watch A New Hope and Return of the Jedi without it being altered in any way. With Disney Plus being the exception, the only way to watch films in their original IMAX ratio is physical media, with Nope, Top Gun Maverick, Interstellar, and other Christopher Nolan films. So it is kind of sad that it will be becoming a dying medium, but with the hope of things like the Criterion Collection, there is still hope for this media. I hope for it to have a future.
Would I ever continue my collection? I would, if there was any other book that I was able to collect that wasn't old in text and would crumble like dust in my hand. I probably would end up getting a bunch of the movies, like Clash of the Titans, Wrath of the Titans, Gods of Egypt, and maybe some other stuff that will be based around mythology, and just adding them to my collection of a bunch of other stuff.
In the future, I hope to give some of these plushies away to close friends or loved ones that mean a lot to me, so I can reserve some sort of collection I had.